Michael Jackson said, if you can't feed the baby, then don't have a baby. Yeah, yeah. Michael, I wonder where Michael got those words of wisdom. Huh. It's true. You can't feed the baby, then don't have one. That's not always logical, is it? How about some music? That's not logical. That's not always. Logic is not always a factor when it comes to having children. We're not always logical. Ain't that the crank, though? I'll let y'all listen to it one more time. Nah. One more time. I'm hungry. I need to go eat. I need a big breakfast. Anyways, logic. Logic is not always a factor when it comes to having children. You think it is, but it's not. It's not. We just don't think. We react. We act. You know what I'm saying? And we heap a huge burden upon ourselves. Because we just do. We want, we desire. One of my neighbors is 24. Her kid is 11. But her mom and her dad, you know, her mom and her real dad are both 24. So they had a kid when they was 13. Now, that may seem like, oh my goodness, but it's like 13-year-olds find each other and things happen. You know, same age group, happens. But they didn't plan that. It's not like they were like, you know what, I'm 13 and I'm 13, you're 13, let's have a baby. But it happened. Even when you're 30, I'm 30, you're 30, let's have a baby. Doesn't always work like that. It's I'm 30, you're 30, we met somewhere, we, you know, did the horizontal pop, and, you know, Junior came out of that. Wasn't planned, it just happened. Sad part is a lot of the times you can't feed that child. So then the welfare system kicks in. You know, when the welfare system kicks in, you're hoping you're hoping that it's going to help you. But the welfare system is changing. The welfare system is okay, so the welfare system is taking a drastic change. And the reason why I'm saying that is because, hello, whoever just joined me. And the reason why I'm saying that is because the new president that we have he's making changes to the welfare system. So what he's doing is he's deeming certain citizens, and he's saying that the burden of the American taxpayer has been compounded because of those who don't work, because of those who found a way around the system, because of those who found loopholes in the system. And the government has, the president is, he's one of the biggest tax shelter hounds there is in the world. But nonetheless, for the poor people, have 5 or 6 children, they found out that they're having these children because, during tax time, they get a huge sum. And the welfare system is pretty much paying for them to have children. Now, what's really strange is the minority in this country are Hispanics. That's the majority in this country are Hispanics. There's just so many of them. Then I think that African-American people, and then, the white people, but that's the white people majority is the majority cannot be counted by the census anymore as far as if you keep saying that Caucasians are the majority, you can't do it according to the census and or how many people that are here. You can only do it according to their financial statements. So if you say that white people make more money than any other race here in America, then, and that's how we're counting white people as the majority, then okay, fine. But you can't say because there's so many white people, they're the majority. That is no longer the case. That's no longer the case. So if you can't feed a baby, then don't have a baby. Here's the thing. In Europe, the government is telling the Europeans and or the Caucasians, listen, Caucasian, okay, for one, Caucasian means Caucasoid, meaning they come from the Caucasus Mountains. The Caucasus Mountains are in Jordan, okay? Caucasians and Europeans, for one, Caucasians have dark hair, all right? People from Jordan have dark hair. They're brunettes, okay? People who are European, this is where you get the blonde hair, blue eyes, and all this other stuff. They come from Zurich and, all those other countries, where you only think about them when you talk about the strongman competition. But nonetheless, you see them. But they're telling them that, look, your numbers are dwindling. So they started paying couples to get together and have children. This is happening now. You think they're doing that in Mexico? No, they're not. So what's happening is the Caucasians and or Europeans are having less and less children than the African Americans and the Hispanic speaking people. And because of this, the threat to the Caucasian people and or the Europeans is becoming pandemic. There are less white people on the planet than there are Hispanic speaking. This is not just Mexico. And African Americans and Africans. When you're looking at Hispanic speaking Americans, most people think Mexico, El Salvador, along that lines. That's not all true. When you talk about Hispanic speaking, you're not just talking about the Taino Indians who call themselves Hispanic and they're really not. You're Indian. You're Taino Indians. Well, that's what you are. You're a Taino Indian. You're not Mexican. You're not El Salvadorian. You're a Taino Indian. That's who you are according to the 12 tribes. Now, Mexico is a country. Hispanic is a language. So basically, Spain, when they were a superpower, raided and raped and killed and, a bunch of countries, just like the Europeans did, because they were in search for gold and to expand their empire. And they had what was strongly considered now a Spanish armada. That armada was a flotilla of Spaniards going from one country to the other, pretty much taking over the country. Hold on a second. And while they were doing this, taking over one country and another, that's where you had the, mass murders of the Taino Indians in the millions. That's where you have Montezuma's revenge, Pachacuti, and all those other historical events, wars in Spain with Spanish Americans and the Spaniards and the Taino Indians, and Guadalupe Hidalgo, so on and so forth. And of course, the Alamo, where the Europeans actually lost. But nonetheless, there's long, bloody history between the Europeans and the Taino Indians. And what is happening now, of course, the Spaniards, mostly, are in Spain, but nonetheless, they affected so many countries. So Mexicans, El Salvador, all those places, they're not the only Spanish-speaking Americans. This is what I'm getting at. You can't just say, oh, you're Mexican because you speak Spanish. It just doesn't work like that. Not everybody who speaks English, is of the same ethnic background. I was going to say race, but we're all the human race. But now America is being invaded. That's what I'm getting to. There's a long, drawn-out process to what I'm getting to. But now America is being invaded. Europe is being invaded. Because all the countries that they invaded are now invading them. So England, France, they have, like I've been to France, and the first thing you do when you step off of the train, when you go into France from England, it's under the English Channel. That English Channel, there are large wars that used to be fought there. There are plenty of old ships at the bottom of the channel. But there's also a railroad station that goes underwater. Go right under the channel. That's how they get back and forth. So when you go from England to France, you go underwater, don't see anything, come back up a couple hours later, boom, you're in France. As soon as you get off, the first thing you think you're going to see is a bunch of French people, running around like mimes or something like that. We, monsieur. No, first thing you see is Africans. Lots of them. Second thing you're going to see, so of course you're going to see white people. You're going to see a lot of Asians because, Asians are tourists. A lot of them. They're flooding that place with tourism. And you're going to see the gypsies, the Persians. So you're going to see them, and they're going to act like they don't know English, but they know English. And they're going to walk up to you and ask you for money. They don't need the money because they're hungry. So you'll see some 11-year-old boy rubbing his stomach and asking you for money. And he'll be speaking in his native tongue because he knows you don't know it. But he speaks very good English. And then around the corner, you'll see the dad playing a guitar, who actually is working for his money instead of begging for it. Then a couple, 100 yards away, you'll see a woman standing with a little baby. You'll think it's a doll, but the baby's real. Baby doesn't cry, barely moves. Then you go into a McDonald's, you'll see another woman who looks like the other woman with another baby begging for money. Then you get on the train, you'll see another woman. You'll think it's the same doggone woman, but it's somebody else. This is how they hustle. And they do it every day, all day, and it works for them. So, anyway, the point is America is being invaded. And because Americans being invaded, the hardship on the government and or the taxpayer and the cost of all of these people coming into America, flooding America, the knee-jerk reaction is what we're seeing today. With the president, with what they're doing and trying to stop so-called illegals from coming into the country. One reason is why he's trying to stop these so-called illegals from coming into the country, and he's taken such drastic measures, is because their numbers are swelling by the second, by the millisecond. Their numbers are swelling and the cost on America is going up. And it's not just because of them. Because of us too, African Americans, because we're having babies like our families are large. Most African American people, they have, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 kids. Well, at least this is where it used to be back in the 70s and 80s. Most white people, they don't have that many kids. They usually have 1 or 2. So just by that contrast, we're outnumbering them. So they're doing their best to slow this down. But the Hispanic speaking people, that's a whole different situation. That number is going up exponentially by the second, by the millisecond. And they're trying to slow this down the best way they can, trying to stop these people from coming into the country. But you have the Asians, the African, everybody comes into this country to try to get a piece of the country, try to get a good living. The thing about the Asians is, the Asians will migrate here. They don't necessarily always stay here. They come here, they, get what they want, and they send money back home. However, in Mexico, they come here to stay because Mexico is not a good place to live. How about some music?